There are so much misinformation on the internet about mixing and mastering that holding your quality back. But don't worry, I'm here to help. In this video, I'll be exposing 5 of the most prevalent mixing myths and providing you with the knowledge you need to create stunning mixes. Let's dive into it and see how to elevate your sound. Myth number 1. Clipping in the DAW is bad. I still come across comments like, hey, you are clipping, that's wrong, you are not professional, your mix is gonna be terrible. But is clipping in the DAW always a bad thing? No, not necessarily. Essentially in the DAW we have infinite headroom. In here we have ways that we can get around clipping and have not affecting anything in a negative way. For example, I got this project here.
Give me a minute to clear my mind. I want to try, but I still want my heart. Don't know if you break it.
You can see the kick drum here. It's not clipping, but very close. Now that I push it harder, it will clip the channel.
Give me a minute to clear my mind.
As you see now, it's clipping on the individual track, but it's not a problem because we bus this signal to an aux and we utilize the VCA fader. So let's say we mix this whole project a little bit hot.
Give me a minute to clear my mind.
It's not a problem in a digital world because we create headroom with this VCA fader. And by the time this signal arrives to the stereo output, it won't clip. If I open up a plugin,
Give me a minute to clear my mind. I want to.
The problem normally comes when you clip the stereo bus and not processing with the limiter through peak detection on. And when you convert your project to MP3, you're gonna have a lossy conversion with some artifacts and distortion. I would mention also another problem I see very often when you clip the signal in between plugins. To some plugins it's okay, but there are some plugins that will cause you artifacts. Just for instance, I have these 2 plugins here and I gain the output, so it's gonna be clipping. And you can see it's gonna be clipping through the chain.
Give me a minute to clear my mind. I want to try, but I still want my heart. Don't know if you break it, and that's why.
To stay on the safe side, I always recommend to don't clip your plugin's output. And with this, we arrive to myth number 2. Stock plugins can't produce professional mix. I see people all the time that say you need UAD, waves, etc. to have professional quality. There is this ideology that there is magic in some plugins that will make the work for you. I would say 99% of the time it's not the tool, it's more like the knowledge you have will make the difference. For instance, I have this mix here with Logic stock plugins only. Let's listen to it.
Yes, I'm changing. I know it's hard, but I will make it. I just need your patience. Just wait for me, baby. Don't break it. Give me a minute to clear my mind. I want to try, but I still want my heart. Don't know if you break it, and that's why.
So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. By the way, this template is available in the description. And I can say no matter the DAW, you can absolutely mix radio-ready songs in any DAW with stock plugins only. And remember, the tools in majority of the circumstances are not the things that holding you back. And if I have to invest only in one plugin, I would do it for a good maximizer. Myth number 3. You have to master your song to -14 LUFS. I've seen previously on YouTube this misinformation that we must mix our songs to -14 LUFS for streaming. When you listen on streaming platform, it will automatically adjust based on a programmed loudness. All the tracks will be on similar loudness, depends where you're listening. This is usually a peak calculation, so if you have a master with a higher dynamic range, it's gonna sound better than a crushed, because those peaks will be reduced where the master with the higher dynamic range will be brought up. But it doesn't mean that a quiet song will be loud there. Some listener turn that feature off on the platform. I always to mix my song as loud as I can without crashing my dynamics but still being loud. To give you a reference, if I export it to wave, I target -9, -8 LUFS. But now that Dolby Atmos is coming to streaming platforms, it will change too. So stay tuned because video will be coming soon. Myth number 4. Mixing exclusively in mono. This is actually a very sensitive topic. I'm gonna explain what I recommend, but trying to mix a complete session in mono is definitely a no. In 2023, we are already in the spatial audio Dolby Atmos, but minimum stereo. We have to utilize the space, especially with panning, delays, stereo delays, reverb. Many times I receive the stems from the producers in stereo, so I need to mix it in stereo. Now I do think that we have to monitor our sessions sometimes in mono just to keep everything in check. And if you feel that you can't balance in stereo your channels, that yes, you can try it in mono and balance the faders, but that's it, and switch it back to stereo when you do effects and panning. Myth number 5, and this is a big one. Vocal compression requires equal input and output levels. Wow. Recently I got these comments that it sounds better because it's louder and it has to be compared at the same level to hear what compression does. And I'm just thinking, what? I'm not sure where this information initiated, but it's getting stronger. So this is why I want to make you understand that this is a misinformation, and let me explain. When I receive raw vocals, it has much more dynamic range, plus you need to have some headroom if you think about gain staging. Let me show you. So the whole concept here is to get the control over those dynamics, and once we have the control, we blend it with the mix. If you have a look at the output gain, it's more, but you don't have that dynamic range.
Give me a minute to clear my mind. I want to try, but I still want my heart.
And I always compress the vocals in the context of the instrumental. And yes, sometimes we have to adjust more makeup gain, but that's the concept. We get the control and we maximize. And to be honest, I almost never use the auto gain on a standard compressor when it comes to vocal compression. And I prefer to tweak the makeup gain myself so I can hear what the compression does. Actually, I made an in-depth video on this crucial topic, so go ahead and watch this video next, and I guarantee you will have instant improvement after watching it. See you there.